Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bodied, a Cloud9 fan cast. I'm your host, Havocpuss, and I'm joined with Frozen Creek, my wonderful co-host.
Hello, hello. Do you own any shares in GameStop?
I missed that boat. I missed that train.
I
Um,
also did.
Everyone just seems to be talking about it all of a sudden, and it's
Yeah.
it's kind of weird. Like it happened basically like overnight, and I'm just like, why is everybody buying game? Like I saw like a bunch of people on like Wall Street Bets, which is a subreddit you really technically shouldn't be trusting when it comes to investing.
No.
And they're just
Never.
like, guys, we gotta buy GameStop. So I just see some people like buying GameStop. I was like, this is kind of weird. And then all of a sudden, like everyone bought GameStop stock and like basically did the opposite of what Wall Street wanted. And now it's causing this whole gigantic economic issue, apparently.
Yeah, I won't go into it too much because it's complicated, Cade, and I could talk about it for a while, but it's funny to watch from the outside because I was not able to get in because Robinhood did not take my credit union, so I couldn't buy a share when I tried to, but that's okay because I'm enjoying it from the outside.
Yeah, you can watch the system burn down to the ground safely with no
Yeah,
money at risk.
exactly. And it's it's not like I would have bet a lot on it, but it it would have been fun. But
Yeah,
that's beside the point. I own shares in Cloud9, not literally, but
in your heart. It's in your heart.
as a part of this podcast, I own a figurative share of Cloud9.
It's in your heart. That's where the real stock lies. And I gotta say, stocks are going way up, Frozen, because Rainbow Six, our team has won yet another championship. These boys, they cannot be stopped. They won the Korea Open Winter Championship versus Damwon 2-1. And I gotta say, even though we can't watch them a lot, our Rainbow Six team, they're on fire. They have won just a lot of events. And I think they're really sort of the unsung heroes of C9. They're proving to be consistent and able to beat the top, contenders of the competition. I think also our next event is it's a big like international type tournament, I believe. It's like a some sort of like wild card. No, it's just the Six Invitational. It's just the big invitational tournament that they have like every year.
Oh, cool. So that's coming up next.
Yeah, let's see. It starts February 9th, and you got a bunch of teams. You got teams from Europe and America and Brazil. Uh,
Is
a
this
lot of
on land?
people. I don't think so.
Interesting.
Okay, actually, so while the Sixth Invitational usually takes place in Montreal, this edition will be held in Paris due to the ongoing COVID pandemic. There will be no audience at this event, and will be the first major offline Rainbow Six event since the pandemic started. So it's going to be on LAN. You're going to have teams like Cloud9, you're going to have Giants Gaming, you're going to have like FaZe Clan, Ninjas Pajamas, TSM, Virtus Pro, Furia, a lot of G2, a lot of big names, probably in the Rainbow Six scene, and they're all gonna be flocking to Paris to play against each other.
Yeah, and that starts in about a week and a half, as you said. So that'll be a great chance for us to see how we stack up against the rest of the world because we've been dominating uh, or it's the North Southeast Asia region. Is that what they called it?
I think we are APAC North.
Oh yeah, that's
So
okay. Okay, so not exactly what I said, but
yeah,
yeah. So, y- or we won that what 2 years in a row. So
yeah, we won it pretty, pretty. I don't want to say handily, but
convincingly.
convincingly, yes.
So a week in and a half. I have to imagine that a lot of it will be streamed. So keep your eyes open for that.
Yeah, and it's gonna be great. I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, how how the team can go about it. I know that I think maybe Korea is not the strongest in terms of shooters in Rainbow Six, but hopefully our team can at least put up some good results. At least, maybe get out of the group stage and at least go to sort of the bracket stage, and then you can really see where to go from there. But I'm looking forward to it. I hope they do good.
Yeah, that's super hype that we're finally getting that international tournament to compete in that we've been waiting for.
Yeah. So hopefully the team and everyone is excited for getting back to LAN. But moving on, we got some interesting CS:GO kind of news. We debuted Zeppa in the CS:GO lineup, and we're looking at least maybe a little bit more competitive. Recently we did beat Ninjas in Pajamas 2-1 in our most recent match. I think the one before that, um, and this is for the CS Summit 7. I believe we lost to Furia. Yeah, we lost to Furia 2-1. But it looks like, we're being a bit more competitive. It seems that we're maybe playing a bit better. I'm not actually sure. Um, I know our first matches, like the first games in those matches for both of them, they looked not together, and they looked like they were really struggling to just play. So,
Yeah, I believe that we have a rematch against Furia today, so I'm not sure if the podcast will be up by then because I don't know what time it's at. But I would like to say, uh, I called it. Having an IGL as an opper is a big brain uh, move because has they can see and zoom in more. So I'm just saying I called it.
I am kind of interested to see how exactly this team is going to go. I was kind of thinking about this earlier this week actually, and kind of like wondering like how far are we willing to go into CS, and like how long, especially with this roster that we paid like millions for, how long are we willing to go before we just say it's not worth it anymore and we need to stop? Because I think that there's only so much you can kind of go into um, before it's just like, look, the investment's not worth it. We're not getting anywhere. We're continuing to just kind of flounder with results and not really make any progress towards success, or climbing anywhere in terms of tournament standings, from going from like, oh well, we got out of the group stage to quarters, and then next one we get to semis or whatever. It I'm just kind of wondering like where's the cutoff point, especially with how the CS:GO landscape is. I've seen, at least trying to pay attention to things, it looks like the scene for the most part is slowly dying. It seems like Valorant's really carved itself a niche in a new little area for being a more exciting kind of new shooter that maybe functions a bit better, and also has actually a company that actually pays attention to and is constantly trying to update the game, rather than what seems like Valve does and just sort of lets it go and then not do anything.
I'm not sure if we're gonna jump out in any time soon, just because of the size of these contracts. So, um, didn't the first or second person that we signed for the Colossus sign for like 3 years or something?
Yeah, I think Woxic signed for like 3 years, and then he
Oh,
he left
in three
because
months.
yeah.
So, I I think we'll be in it for a while, but I guess we'll see if the money side of that holds up because of the Valorant scene popping up. I'm not sure how many changes we're going to see, or if Valve is going to make some changes to the game.
Yeah, it's from my like very small following of it. It just doesn't seem like Valve like really. Valve takes a very hands-off approach to their games. You know, they make the game and then they basically just let the tournament organizers have at it and say like, okay, do what you want with your players and your teams and your events, but we're not going to really, have a hand in like intervening a lot of the time. That seems to kind of extend in their game. I don't see a lot of posts talking about like game patches and like, oh, next week is, their like bi-weekly or like monthly game update where, we're going to talk about how this changed the meta. I don't really see that a lot, versus like with Valorant or like League of Legends. It's like every 2 weeks, like, hey, there's this patch coming out. Here's what's changed. Here's how it's going to, affect the game and how it functions. So it just seems like everything's reached this kind of almost stagnation point where not a lot of players are really getting into the scene and like climbing. All the older players are kind of staying there and just, it just doesn't seem like a lot is being advanced versus other games that are kind of out right now.
To be fair, the game came out 9 years ago and it's still going strong. So I feel like they just made a really good game, and the fact that it's still competitive without major changes every week or every 2 weeks or every month just kind of goes to show that it's just a good game that people want to play and continue to compete in, though.
Yeah, that's very true. I guess I'm questioning it more from like a business side. When you're, what's the incentive of getting into this game versus like another game, and how the game currently functions and everything. We'll have to see for sure. But that's definitely been a thing that's on my mind recently, especially with, just how much we invested into this team specifically to try to get back to the old sort of top 5 Cloud9, roster and everything, and us like really, it doesn't seem progressing towards that like metric, and us just kind of like, well, we won this game, but then we lost this game, and even the one we won, we didn't literally look that good, and we kind of struggled in some parts, that kind of deal.
All right, I'm gonna blow your mind here. So Mango is still competing in Melee, and that came out 20 years ago. It came out November 21st, 2001 on GameCube. So
I will say Melee is way more impressive because Nintendo legitimately does not care about their shit at all. Like they actively try to sabotage their own competitive scenes, even though it would help them out tremendously.
No, that's true. But they made a great game, so I might as well keep playing it.
Yeah, that's true. But at least the CS:GO team won, and hopefully they can win against Furia. Let's move on to talking about Valorant actually, because we have a couple new faces, I guess, new quote unquote. Because Leave has been playing with us for a little while, but he's now official, as well as Zeta, who is from the Cloud9 Korean Valorant team, and is now moving on up to Cloud9 Blue. That 200 ping warrior is now in the lineup with head coach Autumn. He's our new head coach. He was actually the head coach for the Korean team, and pretty exciting to say the least.
Yeah, and it sounds like Zeta is in North America for the time being, because it seems like he was on 50 ping recently.
Yeah, they were playing yesterday in the Valorant Challengers Open Qualifier, and he did confirm. There was a couple sources basically saying he was in NA. I didn't get a chance to watch the games, but it looks like they won pretty handily in those games. They were playing sort of, I guess, minor teams. I think they played a day against Ghost Gaming, but so far they haven't lost in that event. And I'm pretty excited. I think also C9 teased that having a 6 as of yet announced player for the blue roster, which I think is actually pretty interesting. A lot of people are saying that it's going to be, I think his name is Poise. Uh, and I think that's actually really interesting, and I think a really good idea considering you have to kind of function this like Overwatch where you have certain hero pools that you have to maybe swap people out of depending on how good they are or if they function better with a certain agent on a map versus someone else. So I am all for that.
Yeah. I agree. I don't have a ton to add on, on that side. I mostly just want to talk about the white team.
Oh yeah, the white team also they have yet to be
Fucking
defeated.
cracked.
They have yet to be defeated in their qualifier run as well. They last night they beat E United 2-1. They beat I think another team or a couple other teams also. And
Yeah, not on stream, which sucked.
it's not on stream, which sucked. But they've also been playing with Katie, who was she was a CS:GO player.
Total
She's
stud.
she is standing in for I believe it is
Jazzykins.
Jazzykins. Yeah, I drew a blank on her name.
Who is in school because she's 16.
Yeah, so kind of unfortunate, but at the same time, definitely pursue that higher learning. You gotta get that degree and such. So
Yeah.
do it.
So,
I think she's doing the right thing. Big props to her for sticking with it.
yeah.
But
And-
the team is looking good.
Yeah, and after beating who was it last week?
It was Renegades.
Renegades. After Mel popped off in that closing statement, I guess for the game, super hype. I love the whole team. Now because of that. So
Oh yeah, the white squad is super super dope. They're really fun to watch. I love all their personalities. Especially with Katie playing with them, it looks like they've kind of leveled up a little bit. They're before this qualifier, they didn't have a lot of wins. They kind of had some losses, but it looks like they're staying competitive, and it looks like they're at least making it not easy. When they lose, they're not making it easy for their opponents. But when they win, it's super fun, and hopefully they can continue this and actually qualify for this Challengers event because I want to see both of our teams there.
yeah, me too. I love the hype around the white team because they're so much fun as characters too.
Yeah, for sure.
There's an interview with Mel on Nursery Gamers, and it's really good. It talks about like being a competitive esporter, I guess. And it talks about the pressures and stress and such that women face compared to men, and it's a really good an interview. I just finished it. I'm not actually sure how old it is, but
I think it was.
I would highly recommend that.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, it's from yesterday.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm pretty sure it was from yesterday.
Yeah, so read that to learn more about Mel and some of the rest of the team, and hopefully we'll get to watch them on stream soon.
Yeah, for sure. But now we gotta bring it down and be serious for a minute, Frozen, because we got another drama alert. cue the boo 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 boo. Cue the air horns, the sirens. Because it seems like another contract issue has reared its ugly head in that Tempos for the amateur team, after only being like announced like for a few weeks ago, he was dropped from the team and he was replaced. And the issue, as essentially it seemed as information was coming out, he really wasn't gelling with the team. The team didn't want to play with him anymore. So they had to get rid of him, and as a result, they picked up a new player. I should have wrote down that new player, but I didn't.
Yeah. Oh God. I should know who this was, but off the top of my head, I can't think of
No, yeah, me neither. But
who it was. But Tempos was
Breezy. They signed
Breezy.
Breezy.
Yep.
There we go.
Yeah. So Tempos, I believe, was from Iowa State. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's what ISU stands for. At least it does in all other sport, normal sports. So, it sounds like he dropped out of school to compete, and it didn't work out for some reason or another, and he was dropped at an inopportune time for him. So it sounds like he can't get back to school, and I wonder if that ruins his eligibility to play college in the future. Because
It might. I'm not sure. To be fair, he already has 1 degree. He was going to school for a second degree.
Yeah, that
so
is true. That is true.
and I think also talking about this was entirely his decision to leave school. This was not Cloud9 saying that you have to. It's either us or your schoolwork. Jack, I think historically has always tried to encourage people to get degrees, or if they're in school to stay in school. But it seems like that was of his own volition to leave. No one else told him that he should stop school. That was his own choice. A lot of people were upset about this. I think especially just for the circumstances of him losing his scholarship as well as it being so soon. I do kind of want to talk about that a little bit, just because when a player they're treating it like it's a big deal, but I feel like this happens so often in actual legitimate sports that it just becomes like such a sort of like background noise. Like how many kids from like straight out of high school have signed like a basketball team or a baseball team? How many kids have played, only been to a college for like 2 years and then drop out, not even finishing their degree to play professionally? And how many times has that not worked out?
I will say it's not really that common in like the major sports, because NFL it requires 2 years out of high school, I believe it is. NBA requires 1, or you have to be 19 or something like that. But say in like tennis or golf, you are allowed to do that, I believe, because there was a woman, I forgot her name, who played in one of the majors last year. She was 16, and beat Venus Williams, I think it was. So.
Oh yeah, Coco Gauff. Yeah.
Coco Gauff. Yep, there it is.
Everyone likes Coco Gauff.
Yeah. Total stud.
Yeah, yeah.
As the kids say today.
As the kids say today. Just how old we are. The other thing I wanted to bring up was like him getting terminated. There's no way that C9 did not like bring their contract to like an army of lawyers before presenting it and saying like, look, we just want to make sure our interests are protected and we have, I guess, more of the advantage and more of the benefits from this contract. I think that's how basically every business works when they're the ones drafting the contract. And I think that in this case and in the Fortnite players' cases and in, I would say, every professional player's case, if you don't bring like a lawyer or an agent or somebody to read the contract with you and to help negotiate it, and if you just sign it, that's kind of your own fault. I know that's kind of messed up to say, but in circumstances like that, it's kind of like, look, you didn't negotiate your contract well enough. If you didn't try to get some sort of protected like money or protected time on the team before you can like leave, that's just there's nothing else you can do when it's it's a contract. If you didn't negotiate it, I don't know what else to really say.
I disagree with you a little bit because Tempos, or because there's only like maybe 10 teams, 10 amateur teams who are going to pay their players in any little bit.
Right.
And Tempos is or was a college kid who was probably in debt, who was probably signing a contract to get paid minimum wage,
Mhm.
maybe. And how are you supposed to afford a lawyer to read over that contract and take a cut of it? And what a lawyer is going to, or agent is going to, come in and help you sign a minimum wage contract, and that's like why there's a minimum wage for private businesses, because if not, they would offer $1 an hour or $2 an hour. So we've all agreed that they should offer a livable a wage of some sort. So we put in these kind of laws. So Cloud9 holds all of the power in that or in that negotiation, and I think that's why the players union needs to grow up and do something, because this is or where they can do better to like ensure that players are getting paid and paid on time, that if they sign a contract, that it's like something that they can honor from both sides, because the Fortnite one is kind of might be like something where it was tough to honor in some capacity. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know the specifics of the situation. But I think the players union needs to do better, because for these type of players to stay in the game, like Tempos is obviously good. He could possibly go pro one day. I don't know. I'm assuming he's hitting boomer status in a way if he's going for a second degree though. So, and I think it's tough to play college and go pro in LCS. But the players union needs to come in and also support academy players and amateur players signing with teams who come off or who are like a branch of LCS. So like Cloud9 amateur or TSM amateur or 100 Thieves next or something like that.
No, you definitely have a point with all that. I think that that's definitely something that
Yeah, and
should be considered. I do really agree with the Players Association bit. I think that right now, League of Legends Players Association is a fucking joke. Like no one cares about it at all, and it does nothing. And that's because the players they've shown no interest to actually act as any sort of players union to ensure that everyone is being protected fairly, and they're getting good wages, and the hours that they have to work are reasonable and whatnot. There nothing is just being done with it. So it's allowing these organizations, Cloud9 included, to just do whatever they want. There's definitely there has to be some sort of pushback, if not from the individual, like you're saying, either not being able to afford a lawyer or an agent or whatever. There has to be some sort of governing body that can at least protect him somewhat, whether it's providing like free consultations or what. But the players union doesn't do that because no one wants to. So it's definitely, it's just such a complex, like, messy situation, and there's not really a good way that anyone could come out of it all. Even if like Cloud9 was 100% like looking on the up and up, everything up until this point has just been an awful coincidence. It's it's just not good.
yeah, and it is a complicated issue too to form that a union because who's going to pay into it? Who does it represent? What kind of services are they gonna offer their clients and such? Like, if it's only LCS players paying into it, like, should that cover amateur scene when those guys are making like 30 grand a year or something? Like, if they're paying into it, they're not paying much, because if Prix is making 5 million a year, like, he would be paying in more than Fudge, who's probably making 50K or something like that. And
Right.
it's tough, and that's why the NFL collective bargaining deal was tough, because it was good for Aaron Rodgers. It's not good for the practice team offensive lineman who's a rookie who gets paid or the league minimum. And so it
Right.
is tough, and I think that's something that they do need to figure out if they want LCS to be a long-term thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's difficult, just I guess in general, especially when you're in the situation like what Cloud9 was in that say they were on the up and up. If the team just didn't want to play with Tempos and they just couldn't gel and make it work out, like they were, like what was being reported, as Cloud9, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to keep him on just because you signed a contract, or do you buy him out or terminate it, or however you can, to try and get someone else that can gel better so that you can have more long-term continued success? It's just such a messy deal that no matter how you cut it, people are going to look like bad guys, and people are going to get screwed over. So
Yeah, of course.
It's such a complex situation, and I think this is a really good way of showing sort of the business side of sports, and how the business side of sports is just completely messy and in a fucked kind of thing, and you can't escape it from just being bad in general.
Yeah, and it's not something that you can avoid, and it's good that all this money is involved now in LCS, because it's good for the players, it's good for the owners, it's good for everyone that all this money is involved.
Yeah, I can only imagine how this would go if League of Legends and esports wasn't as big of a thing. Like, could you imagine if this was like still where
Fortnite.
it was like 10 to 15 years ago, where esports was barely anything, and all of a sudden you just hear, oh, Cloud9 just dropped a player after only being in contract with them for 3 weeks, and they had to like quit school. After they quit school and everything, that would have been like awful.
Yeah, or Dig players getting paid in mouse pads and shit.
Yeah, that'd just be horrible.
Yeah, so we've come a long way, but now the players need to protect themselves. So.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't know what the entire situation is here. Jack released a statement, and Tempos seemed to sign on to it. So it is what it is, and Breezy looks like a good player. So I guess that's all I have to add about that.
Yeah. Well, let's move on, talking about some light things again. We can talk about LCS, because the team, they beat TSM in the quarterfinals of the lock-in tournament. And how do you think they did, Frozen?
I think that this might have been Fudge's coming out party in a way. I loved his BM drafting or playing AP Gragas. I think he's the only LCS player who's built a Night Stalker.
Yeah,
Super BM.
everyone else who has been playing Gragas has just been going tank, like the tank grass build. He went like full AP Comet,
Yeah,
and I think he actually
Comet,
did better.
Night Stalker. Oh yeah, huge BM. And then he first picked up Camille in Game 3. Super BM, super hype. I loved to see it because I thought Fudge played incredibly well. All three games. His first game was or left a little to be desired, but I think overall Fudge played super well and as good as you can expect.
Yeah, for sure. I think looking at games 2 and 3, his scoreline's really good. Game 2 he went 3-1-7 on the Gragas, and then on the Camille game he went 7-0-5. He was like pretty much commanding that game 3 for a good chunk of it. I think looking at game 1 and talking about that in and of itself, I think C9 just kind of left too many tools for TSM to pick up for their comp to really work. We drafted Aatrox, Hecarim, Twisted Fate, Kaisa, and Nautilus into Gragas, Nidalee, Lucian, Jhin, and Galio. And it looks like what our comp really wants to do is just kind of go and go all in. We have Nautilus for the point-and-click engage. You have Twisted Fate to follow up with that. Hecarim is diving in with his charges, and then Aatrox is, kind of dashing in and flaying around, and then you have Kaisa to also kind of go in with her ultimate and her kit. The only issue is with this comp, you have Gragas and Galio for disengage with the Galio taunt and his knockup and Gragas's knockups, and then you have Speak on Nidalee. That Moonstone Staff of Water build is really good, especially with the healing Nidalee gives. So you can go this more like supportive healing style, and then you just have Lucian who does a really good sort of dueling, and then you have Jhin who can kind of fight kind of removed from everybody else, so diving him is really difficult. And they just have this really good disengage and then re-engage composition versus our sort of go dive all in, and it just really countered what we wanted to do. But I think we learned from that, because in games 2 and 3 we made sure that they didn't get Galio, and it really made it a lot easier for Blabber to play things like Hecarim, for Fudge to play Camille, and Kindred. So I think that was sort of the pivot that we needed to do, to make sure that TSM can't just stop us from doing what our comp was designed to do.
Yeah, and I think that TSM played each game well, but I think they were let down a little bit in draft. Specifically in game 3, Cloud9 bans Renekton and Jax and first picks Camille. I feel like that's a telegraph to us going Kindred, Galio next round, or Alistar, Galileo or something. So I'm kind of confused that TSM first picked Jhin for a third game in a row, but it worked out super well for us. Bjergsen's priority on Jhin was a little bit questionable, but I'm assuming that's a lost issue. But I thought our engage was super awesome in game 3.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing also about game 3 was I think we had a bit more flexibility with the dive and whatnot, because instead of having like an Akali or a Hecarim, or Nautilus, we choose Galio and Camille, which they can go in and out of fights pretty, a lot easier, and you have a lot more protection, especially with Sivir and kind of Alistar to kind of like back them up. So I think it was really good drafting, and DSM did have some good kind of disengaged tools with Bard and Azir with his ultimate and Gragas. So I think that game we were just really flexing on our ability to play individually and as a team. Our bot lane is super good. Sven only died twice that entire series.
And both of them were in game 1.
Yeah, and both of them were in game 1, which we lost. And he was still 6-2-3. He was still like doing like crazy numbers on Kaisa in a loss.
He had 97 more farm than lost in game 1.
Yeah. I think it will be interesting going into the season once it actually starts, seeing how I think Bjergsen will really sort of adapt his team, because I think that, and I mentioned this before on previous episodes, Bjergsen has a lot of work cut out for him because he didn't do what Rainover did, right? Rainover started as like a positional coach, and then he kind of got the feel for that, and then he went to academy to see if he could be a head coach there, and see if he could do it, and it showed that he did, and he was able to coach a team to success, and then he got promoted naturally up to the LCS roster. With Bjergsen, it's just, okay, you're a head coach for the LCS team now. Bjergsen has like no coaching experience. He's a player, and player coaches have, they know a lot about the game. That's definitely true. But I don't know how much Bjergsen knows about leading a team and leading scrims and doing all the things behind the scenes that we don't really see coaches do that coaches do. So I think that this year is going to be really interesting just to see how he can kind of guide this TSM roster and see what exactly they can do and what he can like get them to do.
Yeah, and I think that TSM's gameplay was super good. But they didn't have any reason to really be in game 2 and game 3, but they fought back really, really well. So I think he has them in a good space for each game, but I think he really has a lot of work to do to get this get this bot lane up to par. In game 3, Sven had 161 more CS than lost. So he's got a ways to go until he's back up to par.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that I think sort of conversely saying, I think Rainover still has some work to do on our team as well. The core of our team, which is Blabber, Sven, and Vulcan, they're playing really well. I think that their synergies are locked in. Those three are playing super well together. I think Rainover's really going to have to make sure that Fudge and Perks are kind of working with the team and they're gelled in. I think they're looking better with each match. Perks looked a lot better versus TSM when we kind of started this lock-in tournament. Fudge as well. I think Fudge kind of struggles in lane sometimes, but I think his teamwork is actually really, really good, and it seems like he is at least dialed into what the team wants to do kind of as a whole or when they're all together. But I think one of the big challenges is maybe trying to get him to play better when the game's just starting out and he can't fall back on Sven and Vulcan or Blabber, in those early stages of the game.
Yeah, I think his weakest part is his lane right now, because I thought his team fighting especially on Camille, was insane. Like his ults were always perfect to like the point that Power of Evil always had to ult him out of his Hex deck ultimatum.
Yeah.
So, and there was one point where he timed it perfectly, that frame or two that Camille is untargetable.
Mm-hmm.
He ulted someone as the Shrima shuffle thingy, the ultimate went through him, so he dodged the wall in got on his target still, which was insane and super hype, and probably a little bit lucky, but still.
Yeah. I think Fudge operated really well in that game, and I think that he came in at a really good time, and that the meta is more right now. The meta is more about like sort of like duelist or like bruiser kind of top lanes, and not like tanks. So he's able to kind of maybe fall on champions that he's a lot more comfortable with. And I think that's super good. It'll be really interesting once it eventually shifts, and Blabber may have to start playing tanks, which he doesn't do a whole lot. So I think right now the meta's in a spot where everyone's kind of resting comfortably. Vulcan can play these engagers. Blabber can play the carry or carry style junglers. And Fudge can play the duelist kind of pushy kind of top laners. I think Perks is maybe the only one who has to play a more supportive style, which he may not be used to, especially with how we play. And I think he's maybe experiencing some growing pains with that. But he looks better and better with each game he plays. And, it's not like he's like killing himself or anything constantly.
Yeah, and I love in game 2 how he picked Akali and didn't take Flash.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I was just like, he didn't take Flash. Is that okay? And it turned out to be pretty fine.
And it was okay. So yeah, that worked out well. I think the unsung, or not unsung hero, but the one that we haven't talked about is Vulcan.
His Alistar is so good.
Vulcan, his ability to find a flanking position is probably unparalleled in LCS.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the best flanking supports, I think. He's able to really... He's able to just do his job, which is basically I have to bodyguard Sven and make sure the team has a good opening attack for the fight. And he does that almost really well every single time. I think his only issue is, I think, with Nautilus, it kind of holds him back because with Alistair and other supports, you kind of have a disengage where you can go in, but then you can kind of get back out for a bit to reset. With Alistar and Leona, you don't have that. You just go. So I think that when he's playing Nautilus, or did I say Alistar and Leona? I meant Nautilus and Leona. But when he's playing Nautilus, for example, he just hooks. You're going in. You're not getting out. There's no way you're gonna be able to save yourself if you mess up or go in when the team wasn't ready. So, I think that's the only thing, and I'd really like to see him play more things like Thresh, because I think Thresh, especially now, would be a really good pick and a lot better than Nautilus. At least I think.
Yeah, or Leona, but I think that's all I have about the TSM match. I have 2 statements I want to read to you before we move on, or that are about our next topic.
Okay.
So I was listening to The Dive this week, and they favored 100 Thieves because Demonte and Someday are better than Fudge and Perks, and they also called Perks a glorified golden glue. What do you think about this?
I'm not sure about the golden glue part, just because.
So they were saying that, right now he's essentially a glorified golden glue, but still.
I can't say much about that just because I can't remember much of how Golden Glue played. I can't blame them for hyping up 100 Thieves like this, especially with how 100 Thieves was for the past year or year and a half. They're looking so much better that you kind of have to hype them up. As far as, but I think it's going to be a tough match. And this is honestly, Perks is still maybe getting used to the team. I would really like this to kind of be a Perks game and him kind of showing look, I'm not bad or anything. I'm gonna, here's what I bring to the table to Cloud9, and he can, actually carry. But mid lane right now just isn't in a spot where you're really the carry. And right now it's all junglers and the 80 carry. Utilizing their mythics and whatnot. So, being more of a supportive mid laner right now is really just how you have to play. So, if you're gonna have to just be less impressive, you have to be less impressive.
Yeah, and I don't even think he's played poorly. I think he's just kind of fit his role inside of our team well. Like that Zoe game.
Yeah.
Where he just hard pushed all game. That's all he had to do because Blabber, I think, it was super ahead. So it's not like he had to go out of his way to jump over walls and hit triple flashes into trouble bubbles and shit. So I think it's a little I'm going to assume that it was hyperbole, saying that Demonte is better than Perks right now, in that Perks is a glorified golden glue.
Mm-hmm.
But I am excited for Perks to flex all over Demonte this weekend. Or Friday. It's not. I guess it's the weekend.
Yeah,
But
whenever they play.
but let's not forget that 100 Thieves had to face Keith and Joey last week. So
It's not exactly a challenge.
yeah, it's not like they were going against Power of Evil and Swordar and Hooney.
Yeah, it's definitely
Keith and Joey.
Yeah, that's kind of a softball matchup in the bot lane.
Yeah, I could beat them. Not actually, because
not
I'm
actually,
garbage, not actually, but if I
was at
if
their
I was
level.
on that team, we still would, or if I was on 100 Thieves, we still would have won.
Yeah, I think that it is going to be a tough match. I think that 100 Thieves are definitely looking good, especially with the success they're having. They're probably in like a really nice like honeymoon phase, where they're just going to be, firing on all cylinders, and they're just going to be looking to be really confident in their play. So I think we just have to prepare the best that we can, and make sure they don't get a lot of comfort picks. I think really a really good idea was just for us to make sure Galio was like just pick banned, because I think Galio really messes and counters with a lot of how we want to play. So I think if we just let them make sure they don't have Galio, I think it'll help us a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I guess if we were to give it up, I would like to see a little bit of flexibility too, like us pick Misfortune or Aphelios in Oriana and do like a full team fight front to back kind of thing. I think we can do it, like go Gragas, Alistar, Graves, Oriana, and Aphelios.
I do want to see Blabber play Graves just to show that he can, because I kind of question his champion pool sometimes, because he plays these.
He's had to have played Graves.
I think he's had one or two games last year, but I think it's just an issue of maybe it just doesn't fit his style of wanting to jump in and all-in fight, when Kindred and Hecarim and stuff like that does that a lot better. I think that's maybe the issue why he maybe also struggles with Lilia, because he did play that once, and he didn't have the best game on it.
Yeah, that was the game we lost in Lock-in.
Yeah.
And we also lost Game 5 to FlyQuest in playoffs last year on Lilia.
I think so. I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's not quite his style, but I would like to see a different kind of comp from us this week. But if we can get Alistar, then
oh yeah,
it might as well keep doing it, because if we play dive, I think that we're the best team.
Yeah, for sure. I think if we can get, just like comfort picks in the bot lane, it'll help us a lot, because we've been playing through them a lot recently, and I think that if we can do that, it'll really help us go a long way.
Yeah, so I think the biggest things from this matchup are going to be, we've seen Sven and Vulcan just flex on bot lanes all Lock-in tournament, but I think that this is going to be the best bot lane that they've faced yet. So I'm interested to see how they can come up against Huhi and FBI, who are both good. So
yeah,
if they can come out of lane with a lead, I feel good about our chances.
Yeah. Same here. I think that as long as we get some comfort picks and make sure they don't get anything like Galio or anything that can kind of counter us, I have a pretty confident sense that we can beat them. This is also a best of 5, I believe, instead of a best
Yeah,
of
correct.
3.
Correct. And then I think if we win, then we play on Sunday.
Yes, we'd play in the finals.
Yeah, they set this tournament up really poorly. Like, the groups should have been finished on MLK Day. The quarters and semis should have been played last weekend, and then the finals should have been played on Sunday. But,
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Whatever. The other thing I am a little bit concerned about is how Fudge lanes into someday. I think if Fudge can get out of lane even, then we can easily win. But I have a feeling that Closer and DeMonte are going to focus a lot of attention on Fudge.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely going to be the case. Fudge, especially with how Fudge has kind of struggled in laning, they're definitely probably going to put a lot of pressure on him. But I think Blabber can counter that by just, I think, and I mentioned this maybe last episode, just focusing on like the bottom half of the map, just focus on helping Perks and Sven and Vulcan, getting dragon control. Just make sure Fudge doesn't fall too far behind, and I think, they should have a pretty good shot at getting the advantage in most of their games.
Yeah, and I think that we need to keep someday off like super impactful picks like Renekton, maybe Aatrox, something that can come out of lane and completely like win game on his own. So if we can do that, like keep him on Gragas or put him on, and Camille is probably a game winner. So is Jax. If we can get somebody on Gragas, then I think that we can win in any game.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't have anything else.
Yeah, I think that's it. What's your score prediction for?
I
this
think
Friday
we can probably win 3-1, maybe 3-2. If it has to get down to it, I think it's going to be a really tough game though.
I'm not sure who said it, but one of the dive people said that 100 Thieves was going to win 3-1. So they are extremely high on 100 Thieves who beat Immortals. But that game... Wait. I'm looking at LoL Esports, and I was going to find out what time our game was, and I'm not sure what league this is. It's called Prime League. I'm assuming it's a European sub-league because the game that's live right now is Gamer Legion versus Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition.
That's amazing.
That's their team name. So I'm assuming it's an academy team of some sort. But I might have to flip that on. But
you can also tune into the Baltic Masters to watch Pig Sports play against Team Infamous.
True. Okay, so I think the Sexy Edition is Team 1 or Tier 1 team, along with the whoever that the one team, the Fruit Basket.
Oh yeah, the Fruit Basket Warriors.
Yeah, those two are tier Tier 1 names. So, sorry, I digress. I was going to check the time of our game.
We play tomorrow, January 29th at 6 p.m. Eastern.
There we go. So 6 p.m. Eastern. Tune in and watch for a 3-0 stomp of Cloud9 over 100 Thieves.
All right. Well,
let's go.
Well, if that's it, thank you everyone for listening. Be sure to follow us at C9 Bodied, and we'll see you again next time.
See you next time, guys. Bye.